Desensitize the brain to eliminate chronic pain. Central sensitization, nosoplastic. Did you know nosoplastic pain and central sensitization in patients with chronic pain conditions for various ongoing symptoms, including headache, neck pain, diffuse body aches, urinary frequency, dysuria, generalized fatigue, brain fog, and anxiety? Welcome back to Health Protocol. In this video is for you today. I'll explain what are the symptoms of central sensitization. How does a person develop central sensitization? Is there any test that can be ordered to confirm the diagnosis? And most importantly, how to get rid of central sensitization? So, let's talk about central sensitization today. Neuroscientific research has significantly advanced our understanding about chronic pain in particular, including the role of central nervous system sensitization in the generation and amplification of pain experiences. This knowledge innovation created a massive implementation potential, but also a challenge for clinicians to remain up to date in daily practice. Particularly, the variety of and rapid change in concepts and terminology used can be challenging for clinicians. It's a frustrating and isolating experience, persistent pain that seems to have taken up residence in multiple corners of your body. It's a deep, nagging ache that defies easy description, a constant companion that never truly leaves. You've likely navigated a maze of doctor's appointments, each visit potentially yielding a different diagnosis, leaving you feeling confused and unheard. Beyond the relentless pain, mornings arrive with a crushing fatigue, as if your body endured a brutal overnight ordeal. Your emotional landscape may be clouded by a persistent low mood and punctuated by unsettling anxiety attacks. Concentration becomes a Herculean task, and your memory feels unreliable, like a sieve. If your doctor has suggested that these widespread and seemingly unrelated symptoms could stem from something called central sensitization, a term that might sound foreign and perhaps even a little alarming, then you've come to the right place. Today, we're going to unravel the complexities of central sensitization. We'll explore the characteristic symptoms that define this condition, delve into how it develops, discuss whether there are any specific tests to confirm its presence, and, most importantly, we'll talk about strategies for overcoming it. So, let's embark on this journey to understand central sensitization together. The hallmark of central sensitization is widespread pain that affects numerous areas of the body. This isn't your typical localized pain from an injury. It's often described as diffuse, making it difficult to pinpoint its exact source or nature. It's a persistent, nagging ache that seems to linger relentlessly. Many individuals with central sensitization report a constant background level of pain, an awareness of discomfort that's always present, even when they try to distract themselves. It's as if their pain switch is perpetually turned on. Along with this widespread pain, there might also be sensations of numbness, tingling, and even involuntary muscle tremors. The pain often seems to migrate, spreading from one area of the body to another in unpredictable ways. It might have started with a seemingly straightforward issue like lower back pain, but now it could be affecting the upper back, shoulders, thighs, knees, and so on. The inexplicable spread of pain can be deeply unsettling. Even areas like the head and eyes can become sources of discomfort, and in some instances, individuals report chest pain and even difficulty breathing. If this already sounds quite severe, it's important to understand that the impact of central sensitization often extends beyond just pain. Many individuals experience a constellation of other vague and seemingly unrelated symptoms. These can include dizziness, significant difficulty concentrating, problems with short-term memory, and overwhelming fatigue. This isn't just feeling a little tired. It's a persistent, draining exhaustion that can make even simple daily tasks feel monumental. Paradoxically, despite this profound fatigue, many individuals with central sensitization struggle with sleep. They might lie in bed for hours, unable to fall asleep or stay asleep, and then wake up in the morning feeling as if they haven't rested at all. Their body feeling heavy and achy, much like the sensation of being run over by a truck during the night. In some cases, individuals with central sensitization also experience restless legs, an uncomfortable urge to move their legs, particularly at night, which can further disrupt sleep. Their emotional well-being is often significantly affected, with many experiencing symptoms of depression and anxiety, sometimes even including panic attacks. And the list of challenges can continue. Some individuals develop skin problems like persistent dryness, itching, and unexplained rashes. They might also become increasingly sensitive to certain environmental factors, such as specific perfumes and smells, which can trigger dizziness and nausea. Furthermore, some individuals report increased urinary frequency, pelvic pain, and pain during urination or sexual activity. At this point, you might be thinking, am I imagining all of this? Are these symptoms all in my head? Is it all psychological? It's crucial to understand that you are not inventing these symptoms. They are recognized as classical manifestations of central sensitization. While psychological factors can certainly play a role in the experience of chronic pain, the underlying mechanisms of central sensitization are very real physiological changes in your nervous system. Fortunately, not everyone with chronic pain develops central sensitization. However, the unfortunate reality is that it is quite prevalent, and many patients I see have been living with undiagnosed central sensitization for years, sometimes even decades, since its initial onset. My hope is that if you are watching this video and your symptoms of central sensitization are just beginning to emerge, you will be able to recognize them early and take steps to reverse this condition before it becomes more widespread and entrenched throughout your body. The good news is that central sensitization is often reversible. However, the treatment process requires your active participation and unwavering perseverance. It's important to have realistic expectations. Improvements are not usually immediate. I often tell people that it can take at least 2 years of consistent effort and the right strategies to see a significant reversal of central sensitization. Sadly, I've encountered many doctors who lack a thorough understanding of how to diagnose central sensitization. They might mistakenly attribute the patient's very real symptoms to psychological factors, suggest that there's nothing physically wrong, or admit that they don't know how to effectively treat this condition. This is often not due to a lack of care, but rather a gap in their medical training. We in the medical community need to do a better job of equipping the next generation of healthcare professionals with the knowledge and tools to recognize and manage conditions like central sensitization effectively. But that's a discussion for another time. Let's get back to understanding what's happening in your body that could be causing this complex array of symptoms. Before we delve deeper, I want to reiterate that this video is intended for educational purposes only and should not be interpreted as a substitute for professional medical advice. It's essential to consult with your own doctor for an accurate diagnosis and a personalized treatment plan. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, please seek immediate help by going to the nearest emergency room or calling for an ambulance. Our neurological system is an incredibly intricate and dynamic network, constantly adapting and learning throughout our lives. Your brain today is literally different from the brain you had yesterday. New connections, called synapses, are constantly being formed and strengthened based on your experiences. For example, if you heard a new song today, new synapses were likely created in your brain to encode that auditory information. If you read a thought-provoking post on social media, new synapses were formed to process that information and potentially integrate it with your existing knowledge. If you visited a place you'd never been to before, your brain formed new synapses to map out that new environment. This remarkable ability of the brain to change its structure and function in response to experience is known as neuroplasticity. A synapse is essentially a junction, a point of communication between two neurons. The more frequently a particular synaptic connection is used, the stronger that connection becomes. Think back to when you were first learning to drive a car. On those initial lessons, you had to consciously focus on every single action: the steering wheel, the brake pedal, the accelerator, the traffic lights, the other cars, the pedestrians, and so on. At the end of each driving lesson, your brain had likely formed thousands of new synapses to coordinate all these new motor and sensory skills. However, if you had stopped driving altogether after just a few lessons and never used those newly formed synapses again, they would have gradually weakened and eventually might have even dissolved. But you persisted. You kept practicing, repeatedly using those neural connections. As a result, those synapses became stronger and more efficient. They became so well established that they now produce a robust release of neurotransmitters, allowing you to perform the complex task of driving almost automatically. You can grab your car keys, navigate through your town, perhaps even have a conversation with a passenger, all without having to consciously think about every single movement of your feet on the pedals or every turn of the steering wheel. You might not even consciously register all the details of the traffic around you because your brain has essentially developed an autopilot for driving. Yes, your brain created those neural pathways, and now it can often run that particular program on automatic. Our brains have the capacity to learn millions of new pieces of information, acquire countless new skills, and even become experts in highly complex activities. Just look at professional musicians or elite athletes. Their dedication to practice strengthens the specific synapses involved in their skills, making those neural connections incredibly strong and efficient. Well, in a way, something similar happens in central sensitization, but in a maladaptive way. The brain undergoes changes in response to persistent pain. We often refer to this as nociplastic pain, pain that arises from altered nociception, or pain processing, in the nervous system. Instead of the brain becoming better at suppressing pain, it inadvertently becomes highly efficient at feeling pain. Hundreds, even thousands, of new synapses are created, and these connections become remarkably effective at transmitting pain signals. Remember the principle of practice makes perfect? In central sensitization, the brain essentially practices feeling pain so much that it becomes incredibly adept at it, almost like it's running on a pain autopilot. It's important to realize that this neuroplasticity doesn't just occur in the brain itself. The brain is only one component of our complex pain system. Other parts of this system, such as the spinal cord, the peripheral nerves, the sensory receptors in our skin, as well as our immunological and endocrinological hormonal systems, are all affected and undergo changes in central sensitization. Think of the pain system as our body's alarm system. In normal circumstances, we need to feel pain as an alert signal that something is wrong and needs attention. However, in central sensitization, it's as if this alarm system malfunctions. The volume of the siren gets turned up too high. There might be short circuits in the wiring, and the alarm system no longer functions effectively to call for the appropriate help, like the fire truck, ambulance, or police, to address the underlying issue. In typical situations without central sensitization, when our pain system detects a problem, it not only sends pain signals but also activates our body's natural top-down, pain-suppressing mechanisms to manage the discomfort. However, in central sensitization, the entire system becomes imbalanced and dysfunctional. This means there's an overwhelming amount of bottom-up pain information flooding the brain, and the brain's ability to exert top-down suppression of these pain signals is significantly impaired. The functions that are affected by central sensitization are all interconnected with this pain processing network, often referred to as the pain matrix in the brain. So, What are these affected functions? Well, obviously, the sensation of pain itself is altered. Both the peripheral, nerves outside the brain and spinal cord, and central, brain and spinal cord, sensory systems become sensitized. We primarily feel pain in our skin, but we can also experience it in our bones, muscles, tendons, internal organs, veins, arteries, and the protective membranes surrounding our nerves. A person without central sensitization might perceive the touch of a toothpick as a brief, mild, sharp pain, but someone with central sensitization might experience that same light touch as an intense, stabbing sensation, like a knife piercing their skin. In severe cases of central sensitization, even the feeling of their clothes against their skin can be bothersome, and even a gentle hug can be painful. The brain, in a state of central sensitization, often depletes the neurotransmitters that are normally used to dampen pain signals in the top-down suppression response. We have powerful natural pain-relieving neurotransmitters like serotonin and GABA. Our brain also produces its own opioid-like substances in response to pain, such as endorphins, dynorphins, and enkephalins. But when the nervous system is sensitized, these natural pain-modulating responses become ineffective, abnormal, and malfunctioning. Another function that becomes sensitized is our ability to respond to stressful situations. In a person without central sensitization, the body releases stress hormones like adrenaline, epinephrine, and cortisol when faced with a stressful event. Under normal circumstances, these hormones can have a strong analgesic, pain-relieving effect. You might have heard stories of people who were in life-threatening situations and didn't feel any pain from significant injuries until the immediate danger had passed. That illustrates the powerful pain-masking effect of these stress hormones. However, in central sensitization, a stressful situation often leads to an increase in pain rather than a decrease. This paradoxical response is due to a malfunction in the stress response system caused by the central sensitization. Lastly, the body's response to exercise is also affected. In someone without central sensitization, physical exercise typically triggers the release of endorphins, leading to a sense of well-being, happiness, and often a reduction in pain. But in a person with central sensitization, the opposite often happens. Exercise can lead to an increase in pain and a lack of the pleasurable, pain-relieving effects normally associated with physical activity. Now, for the better part of this story, central sensitization is reversible. The human brain is an incredibly adaptable organ. It's not a static entity, but a dynamic and constantly evolving structure, always forming new connections, learning new things, and open to new experiences. It's truly remarkable. So, if we can train the brain to become more efficient at feeling pain, we can also train it to desensitize and become less reactive to pain signals. It may take time, patience, and consistent effort, but it is absolutely worthwhile. I've seen many patients who suffered from severe central sensitization make remarkable recoveries and go on to live fulfilling and happy lives. So, if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe.